Hell yeah, brother. Hey, what's up guys? Today we're gonna be doing the EGR removal on this LS1 engine. I'm doing a cam build and everything on this, and the new intake I'm getting is the Fast 92. And to run EGR on that intake, you actually have to cut the opening for it, for this port. I don't really want to do that, to be honest. So we're just gonna go ahead and do the EGR delete and air delete. So what that includes is you have a line running off of each one of your headers, which I have these block off plates for from Hawk Motorsports. And we also have this line right here, which feeds into here, which feeds the actual exhaust gas going into your intakes. What we're gonna start off with is we're gonna disconnect this connection here. It's a simple clip, like that. Now this we can just leave hanging there because it's part of this whole harness here. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna unbolt it off of your head right here. So we just have one bolt there. And then we'll probably go ahead from there and start undoing the headers. Okay, so we got the bolts off of the headers, and I have this one bolt off where the EGR comes in. Taking the second bolt off using a ratchet box wrench. All these are 10s. Taking the bracket off right there was a 15. Okay, then we got one more bolt holding this bracket in. Try and get an angle of it right there. We got one more 15 holding the EGR onto the head. Take that off and we'll be good to start pulling it out. Okay, so we got half of the system out. We have the lines for the air pump, and we have the EGR. So I got all those bolts disconnected and loose, and then right here, this hose goes down to your air pump that's located down in there. The easiest way I figured to do this was disconnect the hose right here, then the hose that goes back through here, fed the hose back through here, back around, and then both sides are connected, and that extra hose and it just comes right out the front real easy. Next, we have to tackle this air pump that is down in there. So I'm gonna get the car jacked up some. Okay guys, we got this access panel opened up. Ignore a little bit of the fuck up that happened. As this was turning, just broke that fiberglass nice and free and loose. So I'll have to deal with that in a second. If we look up in here, we can see the air pump and a couple different bolts. If you look up straight up there, it's your electrical connection. I'm gonna undo that and get this unplugged, and we'll start getting it unbolted. Okay, we got those two bolts loose. Air pump is starting to come out, so I'm gonna feed this hose in. As you can see, it's already dropped down a bit. So we got the air pump all removed. So what I did is there's a bracket up in here, and I removed the two bolts holding on the air pump. Air pump itself came out, and there's 4 bolts holding the bracket up top. All right, and this is what it looks like all out of the house, or out of. This is what it looks like all out of the car. So we have air pump itself, tubing. This is the bracket that the pump goes into. Got the EGR over here. So we're about to go ahead and put on some block off plates. So I'm missing one block off plate. I have the plates for where it goes into the headers, but unfortunately I don't have the block off plate for that piece right there yet. Got those block off plates installed. I'm still waiting on the that block off plate for the EGR came in, but the air pump connection block off plates are all in. We're gonna go ahead and start taking off coil packs. So first thing you want to do is unplug your coil packs. So we have this clip right here, just like that, so it's unplugged. Next thing you want to do is disconnect the spark plug wires for your coil packs. So just push down a little bit on the top, get it started, and they come right loose like that. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of those and disconnect that side. You'll have this connector on both sides for your coil packs. Then like I said, you have a bolt on either side. These, they do have a bolt underneath. You just have to slide that off, and then they still have a bolt underneath. Okay, so we got the bolts out. So Coil packs it loose. And we'll just come on out. That's one piece, just like that. So we got the radiator shroud and all off. So that's right here. What you got to undo that is you're gonna have two of these clips. All you gotta do is pull out this centerpiece, and then the whole clip will pull on out. So you have two of those, and then you're gonna have 4 10mm bolts, 2 on either side down at the bottom. I did drop that one and it fell in a shitty place, so I'll get one of the radiators out. So yeah, so after you do that, radiator shroud cover just lifts right off. As this is how I'm actually keeping and labeling bolts. As you can see, you just poke them through a piece of cardboard. They stay in there pretty good. These kind of poked too big of a hole, so I had to tape them in, but all these other ones staying in good. And I'm gonna do this with pretty much all the bolts that there's potential I could reuse. A lot of the new parts come with hardware, but just in case, decided to go ahead and label everything. We're gonna be removing the radiator, and we're also gonna be removing the heads. So the first step for today is gonna be removing the steam lines. I already have the one bolt out there, got another bolt back there, and I just have the plugs out back. Next step, what we're gonna do, because we just got the steam vent lines off, is we're gonna go ahead and remove our belt here. So you got a 15mm bolt on your pulley tensioner. And then what you do is you put it on, crank it this way, it'll loosen some, and you can slide that belt right off. After that, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect all of the coolant lines. All right, so you just push this forward, belt gets loosened, and she'll slide right off like that. And she'll get nice and stuck right there. Lovely. All right, so we got 3 water pump bolts on either side. You can see 1, 2, and 3, and then you got 3 in the same pattern on the other side. Just come right up like that. Now you got your water pump all out. The next thing we're gonna tackle is getting the radiator out. So first thing I did is I jacked up the car, and then underneath it, you can kind of see down below here, you're gonna have 2 connectors on either fan. You need a small flathead to pry them out because they're kind of recessed inside. Once you unclip those connectors down there and remove that, there's gonna be 4 tabs on this that connect the AC condenser to the actual radiator. Lift up your condenser a little bit. This should dislodge, and then from there we can raise this and out, and you'll need a buddy for this. Just got my friend, he's gonna help me out, and we're gonna try and get this out in a second. We lifted up your AC condenser here a little bit so we could unclip it from the tabs. Now the radiator is a little bit more loose. Sorry. There she goes. Fucking yeah. Hell yeah. Got the radiator out, and you can see got all that extra room there so we can slide that cam on out. Here's what the radiator looks like when it's taken out of your car. Next, we're gonna go ahead and take off the power steering pump right here. So you got 2 15mm bolts, one right there, right, one down behind there. That one's tricky. You gotta kind of have somebody hold that hard line out of the way for you. And then over here, you got the other 2 bolts. So what we're doing to get that tricky bolt is we got a little zip tie rig set up, and then we got these paper towels so you can actually fucking pull on it some. And then while doing that, when you pull her back, you just open it up and you can slide your 15mm wrench right in there. So yeah, it's a bitch to get to, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, it'll destroy your fingers too.
Yeah. All right, guys, so we got that bolt loose. remove that bolt. We showed you the little zip tie method. And the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna come over to this side, and it looks impossible, but if you got a skinny enough little box wrench, you can just slide it right down in there and loosen the bolt. Here she comes. Woo! Just like that. Now you got access to your heads, and this will just lay right out of the side. You don't got to do any bleeding with your power steering or anything. You can just lay right like there. The how-to I'm reading on to follow this mentions that there's 4 bolts. That dude's a fucking idiot. There's only 3 bolts, so just be aware. All right, guys, so you're gonna come over to this side, and you got a 15mm bolt down there that holds on your dipstick. Take the actual dipstick itself out, undo the 15mm bolt, and then with a little tugging, that actual dipstick tube comes right up and out. So the next step we got to do is we have to undo your headers. So to do that, we have to go back under the car, and then we're going to undo the Y pipe down there. After that, we come back up top, and I believe they are 10mm bolts, and you can see them all along down there. And you're going to undo those, and the headers will come right off. And we got the headers bolts out, and you can see we can move that enough, and I'm hoping we can shift it up or down enough to get the head bolts. We're gonna have to see in a second. I'm gonna take off these other plug wires. But yeah, so what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to take off your plug wires, and then of course your spark plugs, and then after that, your headers should be able to move down enough where you can reach those bolts. So we're gonna go back under the car, and I initially loosened that clamp and was hoping that we'd be able to get it with that, and then it wasn't, so I went to loosen that clamp, and she broke good. So we're gonna have to do something, I guess. Or we can do nothing. We'll probably do something. All right, guys, so we got the head bolts all freed up, got the headers moved fully out of the way. I had to disconnect the Y pipe on one side, and on this side I actually left it intact, but it's fully drooped down and hanging. I do have to have the car up on jacks just because I left this Y pipe still attached because it wouldn't want to get disconnected right there. We are now ready to take off those head bolts. So before we get to that, we're gonna go ahead and take off the valve covers. And then from the valve covers, we are going to take off the rockers and take out some push rods. We got all of the valve cover bolts off. There are 9 of them all around the perimeter. We're gonna go ahead and remove the valve cover itself. Just like that, comes right up and off. You're gonna have a gasket on it too. Take that with you. The valve cover's off. We have the rockers all exposed. So the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the center bolts and all of the rockers and get the rockers out of the way. We got the rockers all out of there. Next thing we're gonna do is take the push rods out, and they will literally just pull right, Jesus Christ, just pull right out. So we'll go ahead and get all the push rods out. And then after that, we're gonna start taking the heads off. Okay, so we got some connectors that are on the back side of your heads. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave them in place for now, and then unbolt the head, and then once the head can slide forward a little bit, it'll be a lot easier to get back there. And so we got, I believe it's 5 10mm bolts, and then 10 15mm bolts. So the small ones are up top, and then you got the big boys down below and underneath. So we're gonna go ahead and start unbolting those. Now the heads are loose. We'll be able to start taking them out. As I go to pull it off, you're probably gonna hear a loud splash of all the coolant and shit falling. That's no problem. Damn, son, what the fuck? There goes all the coolant. A lot of fucking threads in this goddamn bag of bolt. So, once that bracket's undone, it's gonna just come right on out. Oh, hell yeah, brother. God dang. Okay, now we got the heads off. So that coolant fell in there when we took the head off itself. Overall, it doesn't look fantastic, but it doesn't look awful. The head is all taken off. We got that gasket off. We got some scraping that we need to do. Need to remove the lifter trays and the lifters themselves. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and take off the other head. You guys might see a little bit of that, but it's gonna be pretty much the same steps as over here. So I got all the head bolts out on the driver's side now. And the only thing that is still connected is we got a bracket on the back of the head that we need to deal with. I'm gonna try and do the same thing as I did on the passenger side. Lift it up, scooch it forward a little bit, got a little more room to work back there. In regards to if you have SLP headers, just with how close the steering is over here, you're gonna be kind of having to move them up or down depending on which bolt you get to. It's a little bit tricky. You can hear all that coolant dropping. So we slid it forward a little bit, so we got more room to work back there. I have the head set up on top of the block itself. These two grounds being a bit of a pain in the ass, and this seems to be the easiest way to do it. Now, this whole head can come out. Okay guys, so I have the head all wrapped up because we're done for the day. I just want to show you best practice you should do if you are going to leave the block out without heads on. Cover it up with plastic, and I actually put a band of tape all the way around, kind of held it a little tight, so it shouldn't be going anywhere. We'll be right back out tomorrow morning to do some scraping. We got to clean up the head bolt holes, got to scrape off the old gasket, a couple other things we got to do, change out the valley cover gasket and the bolts. Goes on the Fast 92, also applies to the Fast 101. The valley cover bolts stick up a little bit too high, so you just got to lower it down a little bit so you can get that taller intake on. But yeah, everything is slowly coming together, guys. Appreciate y'all watching.